but don't worry in case you accidentally say something embarrassing. I think I'll probably delete the video after a few days, primarily here for overflow attendance in case we reach the limit of what Google Hangouts can handle. So let's see here. Does everybody know everybody? I think maybe not.
No.
Let's go around and introduce ourselves briefly. We have on this end, I'm Matt Chambers. Sitting on the other side of the room is Kelly. I have also Jade Burchett from the UCSB team. And we have William and Elena, it looks like.
Yes, hi. I'm Elena. I'm the representative moving away from the UCSB team, and either Jade or William will be taking over next year.
William.
And we have Mitam.
Yeah, hi, I'm Tom. I'm from San Jose State, and I'm co-president with Michaela. Michaela, is your mic working or no? Okay, yeah, your mic's not working, but Michaela is also the co-president of SPSU.
Okay. And we have, next on the line is Mangsha.
Hi, I don't know if my sound is working at all.
It is.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Hey, I'm a grad student at Caltech. I'm currently running the ballroom team over here, teaching the classes, etc., for the foreseeable future.
All right, and we have Aaron Soares.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm the president of the USC team.
And Denise Machine.
Hi, I am the faculty advisor to the Claremont College's Ballroom Dance Company.
All right. So that covers most of what we have for the first item on our agenda. We wanted to recognize the new team representatives. We have a few teams not represented yet. I don't think we have anybody from Berkeley online yet or Cal Poly. From CCBDC, is your representative going to be Julio Medina?
It's Julio. He is our competition organizer, but our representative will be Grace Thiem, our president.
Right.
And Grace is traveling today. Julio should be joining us.
All right. My computer's being a little laggy. Paul Roach is asking for an invite sent directly to his Gmail account. Would somebody be able to send that to him? It's on the Facebook thread.
How do I do that?
Good question. All right, give me 1 second then. All right, I think that should do it. All right, does that cover all of our team representatives? Let's see, have we missed anyone? Berkeley, USC, SJSU, Cal Poly, CCBDC, UCSB. I think I'm missing somebody.
Hey, everybody.
Paul, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Could you give us 20 seconds about yourself for the people who haven't surprisingly met you yet?
Sure. My name's Paul Roach. I served as director of the Claremont College's Ballroom Dance Company for a number of years before Denise Machine took over as the new director. I currently work with the USA Dance LA board and do a bit of fundraising for Pomona College.
All right. So thanks everybody for joining us again. The first thing now that I want to turn to on the agenda, I wanted to talk about competition dates. And I'm going to do a screen share here so you can see what I'm seeing. I have a list of the competitions for the next school year, and I think everything is up to date. Everything is captured. The dates are basically figured out with the possible exception of UCSB and Claremont. So how does this look? Well, hold on. Let me kill this program that's, I think, giving me a bunch of Excel lag. Here we go. And Mengsha, I've just put your name down here so I remember to note this in a better document later.
All right.
So we have Berkeley has a date of, they're looking at February 24th, 2018. USC's Glamour Smackdown, February 17th. SJSU, November 11th. Cal Poly has one of two possible dates. They're looking at February 3rd or 10th. But as far as I know, either of those dates doesn't conflict with anything else. And then CCBDC is looking at October 7th, November 4th, November 18th, and UCSB is looking at November 18th. Is this accurate so far to everyone's knowledge?
Yep.
So I want to just throw something out there. Yesterday we were talking at the dance camp about how in the LA area, the first competition is pretty late in the fall, and it might be nice to have some sort of practice competition like the mini beach ball that Santa Barbara does or Berkeley Beginners. But over here early in the year for our newcomers to sort of practice competing in a low pressure environment. Is that something that you guys would be interested in if we were to just have, say, like the advanced dancers judge and just to have newcomer bronze and silver?
Elena, maybe you could elaborate a little bit beyond your thumbs up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. When we ran mini beach ball, we only did one level. We just said anybody who is silver and above, like please do not join us for the competition. And since we kind of only advertised it to our school, we ended up with a couple really big like beginner events. And then we had a lot of higher level people dancing showcases, which was a really cool opportunity for a lot of couples that don't normally get to do showcases. If they're like goldish level, that's like, you don't typically get asked to do something like that. And it went really well, and it was nice having, or rather, we did not have any issues like unifying the levels just into one level for each dance, like not doing newcomer and bronze separately. And that saved us quite a bit of time as well. So we ran that this spring. We talked about running it in a different quarter because attendance for our team was not what it could have been in the spring quarter. But yeah, I think we would be opening it to run. We'd be open to running it in a different quarter in the future.
Okay, because it's pretty hard to find space to do rounds around here for the people who are interested in competing. And USC with Lorena and USA Dance did that sort of rounds at Westmore, which was super nice, but it doesn't seem like we'd be able to get that space on a regular basis. And it would be nice for sort of like our newbies to get to know each other just from different schools in the area since we're all sort of sprawled out. And it might be fun to have like the coaches or the student teachers from each of the teams to showcase this, help people get to know each other.
I'll add one thing on top of that. I'm a firm believer that having some experience as a judge is valuable to intermediate and upper level dancers.
Mm-hmm.
People attending today, I know at least William was a judge. Is that an experience maybe that you can speak to?
Yeah, so I've been dancing for a long time, but I've never judged before. And so it was like pretty interesting to see how little time you had to make decisions. And it was like really eye-opening to realize that there's a lot of decisions that like don't have a lot of thought put behind them. And it's just like whatever appeals to me, like who has like most presence, like who is on time, who like is smiling and not looking down. I think it's really valuable for new dancers because I feel like judges will be watching them for like a full short wall or something like that, which is absolutely false. And I think that would really change the way to think about the dancing.
Yeah, it might be like I wasn't thinking that we would invite professionals to come judge something like this. We would just have some of the higher level dancers or alumni judging newcomer bronze events, for example.
Is there anybody who can speak to the experience at Berkeley Beginners Competition? I've never been. We don't have Berkeley online, so if there's anybody who's been there.
So I actually come from Berkeley, so that's sort of where this idea came from. It was nice for our newcomer. Like at Caltech, it's really hard to get them to be interested in competing, especially if they're not feeling confident. And so it's nice to not have to travel, to not have to pay a registration fee, to not have to commit to a full day, and to just be competing with people that they know. It just got some people interested in competing and made them feel more comfortable. And, you know, it made life for deck captains much easier because everyone had sort of done it before at the next real competition.
Yeah, good points. I'll mention something also. Andrew wasn't able to make this meeting, but he and I had a phone call for half an hour earlier this morning. And it's a related idea, so I'll throw it out there now. He had suggested the possibility of looking at all of the competitions that go on during the course of an academic year, and really as an exercise in sort of branding them in a way that could be most effective. You know, you've got competitions that are at the beginning of the year. Maybe you try to brand those as beginner competitions. We have to be careful to not scare away if the intention is to have high-level dancing there too. And competitions toward the end of the year, maybe those are branded as something else. Championships is a word that carries a lot of weight with it, so maybe not championships per se. So maybe there's a couple different ways we can approach this. Having an additional beginners competition at the beginning of the year is one way. Otherwise, I'll suggest also that maybe there's ways that early year competitions might be branded a little bit differently to sort of achieve something along the same lines.
USC has, we can get our gym space that we practice in, which is like fairly large, not big enough to host a whole competition, but big enough for like a scrimmage of the LA school areas. And I know we were talking to Denise about this a while back, of like having just like LA area schools come together for like a little, not even a pre-competition, but just like a mini scrimmage kind of event, where there could be like also workshops on like how to do hair, costuming, or makeup, or dances that we don't do. So something smaller scale that's not a huge competition, but has still some of the weight, like maybe get a actual judge and like have a bunch of students or something like that.
Another thing that might be interesting is for the teams where students do most of the teaching, is if we could get a pro coach to come in and maybe do a teaching workshop and just talk about how they approach teaching group class versus teaching a private lesson, how to motivate students, like how to organize technique and how to choreograph new routines for your class, if might be fun at something like that.
Sounds interesting to me. So I'm going to put the prospective calendar up on screen one more time. And I think the latest, I think we have Julio with us now, and Denise is here, of course. Is the latest date that Claremont is looking at, are you thinking November 4th? Do you have any change in how sure you feel about that date, or the likelihood of possibly wanting to move to a different date?
So my current thing is, I think as a league, it doesn't do us a lot of good for our 3 fall comps to go 3 weekends in a row. And so I would rather not do the 4th, right? Because then it would be us the 4th, San Jose the, like, that doesn't seem as useful for like improving your dancing. There's no time to do as like much prep. But October 7th is only the second weekend of the school year for those of you on the quarter system. It's about a month in for those of us on the semester. And so my question is to schools on the quarter system, even if you don't think you have beginning dancers ready at that time, do you think upper level dancers will take that as a good challenge to get the school year going, or that it's just too early in your school year?
October 7th is absurdly early. It's like, because we start the very, very last week of September. This year we started like October 1st or 2nd or something like that. It's just like absurdly early, and a lot of people won't even have like met with their partners yet to practice at that point in time.
Yeah, so that's we're happy to give up the 18th to UCSB, but these are the only 2 dates that work for us as a team because our comp is only one of the 5 events we're doing this fall. So if you as CDA have strong feelings, we're happy to hear them.
I would rather see 3 weekends in a row than that early, because while it's like really, really hard, it's like, I think it's harder to get people out so early to a competition than it is to sometimes just make them do a few in a row, especially because one of those that's in a row is San Jose, which is far. And we definitely have some people who don't want to drive that far for a competition, even from Santa Barbara.
Thoughts from other teams?
Yeah, I would agree that the October date is too early for us, but I don't think we have a big enough group to make a large difference at these competitions yet. So,
SJSU, any thoughts?
Still thinking. Michaela's chatting with me right now. Well, I also agree that, or so far, my line of thought is like the 3 competitions, like because 1 is up here and 2 are down there. The 2 that are down there are like spaced out evenly enough. Also, like in the future, we could probably coordinate the dates a little better. I didn't know that we had the ability, like the day to reserve the ballroom is sometime in April, because that's when our ballroom reservation opens up and everyone like guns for it. So knowing that now, I think in the future, making a decision about competition date before April would happen, and then maybe we could not layer the comps in the future if that's an issue.
Also,
But right now, I don't think it's too terrible.
I don't know if anyone else is planning on going to it. I know our team is, but ASU, Arizona State, their competition is also in that range of like 3 days, which makes 4 weekends in a row for anyone who wants to go to theirs. I know they come to a lot of our events, so it's nice to support them, but that is a lot of competitions in a row. So I'm in support of doing an earlier date that separates them.
What is the date?
Sorry, what?
What is the Arizona date that you just talked about?
Yeah, Aaron, do you know what the Arizona Dates competition is? I didn't quite catch that.
They haven't said what their competition for this coming up year is. Last year it was Halloween weekend.
Okay.
Which is usually the same date as Claremont's Masquerade Ball.
I see. Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on that?
It seems like there's a lot of competitions like nestled in this kind of time frame, because something else we're coordinating with is OSB and NQE that happens usually the first week of December. So when Michaela and I were talking to Shaq, he mentioned that kind of the ideal range that he's been kind of going off of is either a week before or a week after OSB, and definitely before NQE. So that's kind of why we came to the decision of November 11th. It just seems like there are so many competitions now that we've mentioned like 5, right?
I think this is the nature of being a league that has half the schools on the quarter system and half the schools on the semester system. Because during the first half of the year, the schools on the quarter system are only meeting for 10 weeks. And so it kind of clusters all of the comps, whereas in the second half of the year, we have a semester overlapping with 2 quarters. I haven't been able to discuss this with my officers. They were in finals, and then we had some things happen in our community on campus, so I was trying to give them a break. But I will share your thoughts with them on October 7th versus November 4th, and we will get back to you.
The comment about there being a lot of competitions clustered around the same one, that's certainly true, and for the reasons described. I'll mention that January does seem to be kind of a dead zone. And I know people come back from the holidays at different times, but in case anybody is looking for, is there a time period where there just aren't any competitions right now? January is completely empty of at least collegiate events, and then February is again quite full. After that, things taper off again a little bit as we start to see disruptions from variable spring break weeks that there again, it's difficult to find the illusory perfect weekend. And then after that, you see schools ending at different times, and you see those dates fall into disfavor for similar reasons.
January is very difficult because it's so near the beginning. It's very hard to get people to actually sign up to go in time. Like, I know our team has enough trouble trying to get newcomers and our people signed up in time to get to Cal Poly. And anything earlier than that also sounds pretty ridiculous to try and get people to go to.
A good point.
Yeah, trying to get anyone to register for things over breaks is difficult because everyone's out of town and trying to communicate over email. You can't make them turn in their waivers or whatever.
All right. Well, I'll echo the comment I think that Michaela or Mitom made. As far as trying to figure out dates, some schools have the fantastic ability to book rooms 6 or so months in advance. I'm a little jealous of that. I know at UCSB, room bookings can't happen nearly that soon. I wanted to suggest, in the interest of trying to make things a little bit smoother heading into the following academic year, the possibility of discussing potential competition dates for that academic year now, even possibly at this meeting. Would people be interested in attempting that sort of approach in order to try to make a little bit more smoother coordination of competition dates?
Yep, I'd be in for that.
Yes, I've looked up the 5 dates that we can work with from the CCBDC.
What if we take the following approach? I guess we don't have to spend a lot of time on it at this meeting, but we can look at equivalent weekends using the schedule that I have up on screen now and treating things as, for instance, first weekend in February, first weekend in November, et cetera. And if I don't receive input from people who maybe aren't at this meeting, like Berkeley, I can throw together a perspective. This is what people might be looking at for 2018, 2019. If people have different dates in mind, then send those to me and I'll throw those in as well. And maybe we can try to, get something that's certainly not cast in stone, but at least an idea of what dates people are aiming at more than a year in advance, and then avoid some of the struggles that we're seeing this year. Would people be interested?
Yes.
Is there anybody who would like to raise a concern about that?
NDCA events don't have their schedules published.
Did everybody catch that?
My only concern with that is obviously UCSB has a pretty stable set of competition organizers who do run it every year. I'm not sure what that situation is like at other colleges, and I know for sure that some comps are entirely student run, and if you're planning a year and a half, almost 2 years in advance, especially for some of the winter spring comps, it might be tough to just get the same people who are planning on running it. It's just because year-to-year terms are kind of shorter. So that is something to keep in mind. But at the same time, I do know other colleges have persistent people who are running it every year and are sitting in on these meetings. So maybe both ways is good.
We're a comp who's entirely student run, and I'm not going to be around next year to be a part of it, but I know that our team's planning on keeping our competition around the same time if we can, so long as we can get the date. So I still think it's a fine idea. It's always better to plan ahead.
This might be a part of institutional knowledge that I might ask that people who are part of teams that you do see the leaders of the teams and the competition organizers retire year after year, take an extra 5-10 minutes, whatever, during the handoff process that you've got to make sure that the institutional knowledge about what the forecasted intended competition dates are gets passed down. Let's give this a shot. We'll have plenty of time to change course if this doesn't end up working out. And let's talk about the next, actually there's 3 topics that are interrelated. We have a number of offices in CDA. So for those who are visiting or who are new to CDA, the structure is that we have a board and we have a council of student representatives. The board members are Paul Roach, Lorena Bravo, myself, Kelly, Andrew, and Denise. I think that's everybody. Oh, Chris Elwood. Those are permanent people on CDA, and then all of the students are all of the colleges. The colleges are permanent members of CDA, but the representatives keep swapping out. Between the board and the representatives, we have a number of offices that we fill. We have president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, competition records, and I think I'm missing one. I would reference our website, but our website is down, which we'll get to that in just a second. But those positions, which are distinct from membership on the board or membership of the school on the council, are elected positions, and we're supposed to have annual re-elections to those positions to make sure that the people in those positions are still the people that we want to have in those positions. It's about time to handle elections. The way we did that last year, I'd like to do this year again, rather than spending a lot of time on nominations, etc. We can take the default position of everybody who's currently in a position is automatically nominated for that position unless they would like to not be. And then if there are any nominations people would like to make for others or for themselves to positions, then we can hear those. And then we'll probably conduct voting through an offline process. There's a process that we've used in the past that we've used to make sure that the voting is both has integrity and is anonymous, and we'll set that up again. So for those board members who are present, is there anybody who would like to not occupy the office they're currently occupying for the next year? Paul Roach?
I'm still here and available as needed.
Denise?
I'm still available also.
Kelly?
Still in.
Kelly's still in. I'm still in. I'll have to touch base with Lorena Bravo and Chris Elwood after the fact. And I spoke to Andrew this morning, and he is still in as well. So let me open it up then. If there is anybody who would like to nominate themselves or anyone else to a position. All right, very good. If you have second thoughts later, then message me. Otherwise, we'll call that set for now. And we'll probably send links out for voting in a couple of weeks or so. The next topic I wanted to mention was web development needs. Let me show you what our current website looks like. So we go to collegiatedancesport.org, and here we are down. So this has been down for a little while. For those who aren't familiar, the website was hit by some sort of cyber attack and got filled with a bunch of malware and whatnot. So rather than simply attempt to repair it and put it back up and risk there being anything lurking in the background, Chris and Andrew simply took it down. Their thought is they want to use this as an opportunity to revamp it and put up something which is bigger and better than before. We've been in this position for, I think, 2 months, and Andrew will have time in June to get around to working on it. So we're almost at that point already anyway. But I do want to raise again the need at CDA for any web development or coding talent. In particular, Andrew mentioned that so front-end work, HTML, Java, or CSS is valued. Back-end is really where they're looking for help. Database skills being required with a preference for PHP, as well as knowledge of web framework design, preferably Ruby on Rails or Adobe. I didn't quite catch the name, but there's an Adobe web framework as well. The main thing, though, is if there are people who have computer science backgrounds or web development backgrounds and would be interested in helping out, by all means, let us know. And this is a message not only to the people on the phone call right now, but to people on your teams. I'll propose something in the meanwhile. Even though the main website is down, we have this partner search up. We have Elena's name on it right now. Let's, for those who haven't seen this, let me just show you. You can type in a name here. Let's look up Julio's records. And this is a proficiency point table. Doesn't say anything about people's rankings or standing. Let's see if Paul is in here. Paul Roach. Paul, no proficiency points. You haven't been competing recently enough.
Oh, how sad.
I guess you can do bronze.
Now there's a thought.
So I wanted to suggest the possibility of, while the main website is down, we could just set up a redirect and link people directly to this in the meanwhile. It doesn't have our upcoming dates for the competition circuit, but presumably Andrew will be able to have something up by the end of June. How does that sound to people as far as timeliness of getting a website up that has competition dates, links to what is fair level, costuming guidelines, all the stuff that we used to have up?
I think the redirect is a great idea. I think that also including a note that the website is currently down due to, a cyber attack and will be back up mid-summer, I think would be good, and maybe a link to a contact us email. And I think that would be great.
I also agree that whatever would be on the redirect would be good. And also, like, Michaela and I can do our part and spread the word up here in the north for anyone that has questions. Because typically, like, we get asked by our team members and other people that we know in other teams too, and we can just share that information with them too.
Then the next topic I wanted to go to was, in the Facebook thread, hopefully everybody saw this, I wanted to ask people, and this is maybe for board members a little bit more than team representatives, but I'll open it to everybody. I wanted to ask what role people see for themselves in CDA over the year ahead. Really, I want to look at where people's energies lie and where their skills lie, and make sure that we're taking advantage of what people want to work on, not stifling anybody, and also maybe not asking things from people that are really outside of their interests and care abouts. So if this is not a question that you've spent time considering yet, I'll start, but then I'll do a round table, and not to put anybody terribly on the spot, you can pass if you need to. For my part, I see my role in CDA, at least as long as I'm president, as coordinating meetings like this, making sure that people are talking to each other, and tracking that things that we've said we'll do get done, as well as addressing critical needs like, well, the website's down, that's something that we need to address. And then in addition to that, I see my role as continuing in support of the competition ranking, scoring, and proficiency checking with Chris Elwood. It's been primarily the two of us who have handled the software and the back end on that, as well as the screening of competition entries for anybody who's run a competition and has had their entries screened for fair level proficiency points. That's something that I certainly see myself continuing into the future. Let me go down the line then. Paul, have you had a chance to think about this?
Yeah, absolutely. As a vice president, my job is largely to make sure I'm supporting Matt where he needs it. In communications, I'm responding to Facebook messages, as well as any other emails that come my way, and sending people on to Matt as needed. In terms of my interest in the organization, outside of what Matt is already doing, I think my long-term interests are in the financial feasibility and the financial health of the organization and the member organizations. So that's largely where my interests lie.
All right, Denise.
Yes. So even before I became a board member, I think my interests lie in like tangible help at events. So 3 years ago, I helped do registration for UCSB the day of the comp. I have volunteered for Cal Poly's last 3 competitions. This past year, I volunteered at USC's competition. In addition, I'm trying to use my position as the faculty advisor for the CCBDC to add value to the CDA through our policy now is that we cover the cost of competitions for CDA competitions only from our team. And we're also providing opportunities for other teams to perform in social dance. So for example, the USC team was in our annual concert this past April.
That is awesome. How many people knew that being on the CDA circuit meant what it does to CCBDC in terms of having your competition costs covered? I did not know that. That is awesome.
Yeah, and that's something that I've been very stubborn in with my students because I think that I want to make sure that we're supporting the league that we participate in. And I think that it helped, like with the USC team, like they knew that they were going to get $600 of registration fees because we paid it as one check.
So Kelly is recovering from allergies or a bit of a cold. I'm not sure if she's going to want to speak, but I'll give her the chance.
I mean, my job is treasurer, and right now we have no money, but it would be nice if somebody we did, and it would be my job to keep track of it, and that is something that professionally I do. So.
Yes. So I don't know if everybody heard that, but Kelly says that one day if CDA ever has money, then she would be glad to keep track of it. Let's go through the student representatives and give everybody a chance to speak if they will. Eleni and William.
I haven't had a lot of time to think about my role in CDA, so all my plans are pretty UCSB specific. So I'll pass for now.
As representatives of teams, that's certainly what the general expectation is, that you represent the team's interests and be a voice for the team to the greater community. SJSU, Meetam and Michaela.
Well, we're kind of on the same boat where because we're so new, we're still thinking about exactly what we want to do. We have this broad goal where we want to be able to show that everyone can be a dancer, and we feel that our actions and values reflect that as president. And something we were thinking about, like what we liked that we did this semester was Roundsathon. We liked how a lot of people were involved with that, and like cross collegiately, like a lot of teams from other collegiate groups came, and that was really exciting. And we want to be able to do more activities with collegiate people outside of just competition.
Okay, and Julio.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yep.
Great. I think my role as a CCBDC competition coordinator, one thing we focus on a lot is accessibility. For example, Denise already mentioned about how our competition costs are covered for the CDA comps. And we make a special note to only reimburse the costs of competitions where all of our members can compete. For example, if there's a same gender couple, they would need to be allowed to compete for us to be able to reimburse their competition costs. And I think this is very important to CCBDC as a core group value. And also the fact that we can, these costs makes it accessible to all of our students who might not be able to compete if they did not have this financial support. So my goal for this year is to continue providing that service and to provide communication between you guys in this group and the students who are part of the club.
All right, and Erin, anything?
I'm happy representing my team. I also strongly resonate with everything that SGSU said, and also CCBDC, but in general, I'm cool being a representative.
All right. And then from the conversation that I had with Andrew earlier, his primary careabouts and interests are web development and also figuring out a way to get 501c3 status for CDA. He is looking into that still. The last item that I wanted to go to then was UCSB ran an event here a couple of weeks back called Partner Catch. And I know that there were some people who had asked questions about that and were interested in that. So I've asked Jade to be here with us today. She is our present secretary and next year's social chair, and was the organizer and the creative mind behind Partner Catch. And so I wanted to have her speak to that directly and explain exactly what that was.
Okay, so Partner Catch was formed out of the idea of increasing or having a higher retention rate. Most of the people that end up staying in our club, particularly that I saw, have dance partners because that's what keeps you in the club. Like, you can take the cha-cha lesson like 3 times, but sometimes you're like, I don't have to go to ballroom today because I have this, and this, and we lose a lot of people. So I was like, because asking people to dance is really scary, and asking someone to be your partner can be scarier. To have a space specifically to find partners. So based off of the idea of speed dating, but definitely not emphasized, I did not draw that conclusion on the page. The format that I went through was icebreakers, group icebreakers, and then into the one-on-one partner catch. So you'd have like 3 minutes like speed dating to talk to someone, and then we had example questions up like, oh, what does your schedule look like for school? Like, what dances are you interested in? What's your favorite dance? And like maybe personal questions like, what's your favorite color? But it's 3 minutes, and I think it went really well. And then after that, there was like a dance game portion just to like roll off any awkwardness that may have occurred during the speaking, and then just social dancing because you may not dance well with them, and so that was to find that out. As for how it actually went, it was run during spring quarter, and so a lot of people were not looking to compete. So as for actually how it turned out to find partners, the results are, I don't think anyone came out of it doing that, because most of the follows came looking, but the leads did not. So I could get back to you guys in fall again when I plan to run it before beach ball, which is when we have a huge influx of partners getting together. As for how it went socially, though, I think it went really well. It really gave time for the old members to just sit down and talk to new members for like 3 minutes, and icebreaker stuff in a way that we don't really get to talk during practice and stuff. So there are definitely pros and cons that happen, but I think it was an event good enough that I want to run it again, and I've had people ask me to run it again, so it was good. It was fun.
I think the main thing that was really, really cool about Cotillion Partner Catch is it was like a very structured piece of social time where you could interact with people one-on-one. So it wasn't even necessarily that it was only people who were potentially looking for partners interacting, but you did get people who don't normally interact on our team just because of the way our club is set up. You could get them talking to each other, which is really cool, and I think like making that one-on-one connection with several different people is a big game changer for people in a community like ours. So yeah, I really thought it was a well-run event. I would like to see it run again at a time when more of our students are looking for partners, and yeah, it was a great job.
People on other teams, do you see a similar effect where those with partners frequently have a much higher retention rate than people without partners?
Not so much. A lot of our people don't have constant partners, especially this past year. Like, because so many people can't go to certain competitions, people switch partnerships all the time. So I would agree that people who don't compete tend to not stay as much, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily because they don't have a consistent partner.
Yeah, the partner catch definitely was not to push for a consistent partnership. The stress was because we had mini beach ball coming up right after that. That was the push was you can compete for mini beach ball if you guys stay together. That's cool. If you don't, that's also cool. Because I also didn't want to scare off any people who got into a partnership that they did not like and then felt forced to stay in that because there was this event that put you guys together, and then coming out of it is weird, and then you guys can never come back to cotillion, and it's a mess. But yeah, no, that's a great point. So that's something that was definitely stressed was you can stay partners and you can totally not stay partners, and that is 100% okay.
I've been on teams where both happened to be the case. At Berkeley, everyone took the group classes in partnerships, and in that case, we definitely like the retention was way worse if you were practicing by yourself, especially since at the beginning of the year we did a lot of switching partners during the class, and then that sort of tapered off as everyone sort of paired up. At Caltech, we don't have enough people to really have permanent partnerships, and actually we have way more leaders than followers, which is probably not a problem that any of you guys have. Our main barrier to retention is schoolwork. And we don't have permanent partnerships. We just switch partners around every class, and it seems to be okay. People get together for like specific competitions.
Okay. Cool.
For us, something that's been interesting. Okay. When I think about the people who have dropped off, it's mostly because they've graduated. For some reason, last semester, we had like 4 or so people that graduated. Like they only found out about us their last semester, and then they joined and then graduated, and so they left. They could have came back, but they wanted to prioritize their jobs, and I mean that's okay. I think a semester maybe was too short for them to feel so invested that they would come back during their alumni years. But something that's been working for us is our couples do a lot of like cross coupling. So for instance, we have twins on our team, and they dance with these 2 guys for standard, and then they switch the guys for Latin, and that was pretty cool, like cross coupling. And then I think something that's also really helpful for keeping people in via a partnership is rookie vet, because there was one who couldn't find a partner. We didn't have enough leaders, and everyone else had already like comboed in a way where everyone was dancing a style, but she danced like rookie vet, and she said that was really helpful for her, like staying in. And I think in general it's really great having that. I think rookie vet only started like very recently, and so it's been like ramping up, and I think that as an outside force is really helpful.
If we have people who are partnerless for a competition, I also really encourage them to just learn the other part, especially since right now we're still mainly like beginners, and it's not too hard to learn the other part at like a newcomer bronze level. So that's also really helpful for their personal dancing.
Yeah, I agree with that, because Michaela and I currently dance together in standard. We're the only one on our team so far that does same sex, but I think we're demonstrating an environment where people would feel more free to experiment with that. Actually, Nikki and Nicole, the twins, have also danced together, so that's pretty cool, seeing that the influence is spreading.
The other thing is for like making sure their teachers, as the advanced dancers graduate, I often find that it's very helpful to have the teachers know both parts. And so in classes where like someone maybe a slightly more advanced dancer already knows the part, I also encourage them to learn the other part, partly to in hopes that we can train them up as a teacher, you know, a couple years down the road.
I wholeheartedly want to second that. Learning both parts and knowing both parts is key to teaching and to being a successful dancer.
How do teams feel about rookie vet? I know that UCSB, we make an effort to actually get people set up for rookie vet couples as well. Are other teams planning on doing that this next year. Are you aware that I think 4 of the 5 competitions participating with CDA have rookie vet events? It's most of them anyway.
Our newcomers and beginners love Rookie Vet because they'll give them a chance to dance with a more advanced dancer, and usually the advanced dancer then will take time to help them get better, which like I understand is the point of Rookie Vet. But we have great luck with it, and a lot of people like participating in it. Our main problem with it is that we actually don't have enough vets to dance with all the rookies.
Yeah, if I may speak for CCBDC, I think we have a different kind of environment than some of the other schools because we have such a big focus on performance. So there's already people in the club who are committed to ballroom dancing, but not necessarily competing. And I've found that Rookie Vet is super helpful because we already have a ton of people who like might already be good dancers, but not necessarily during competitions. And if we see beginners who might want to start competing but don't have a partner or anything, we kind of just choose someone who's already in the club who's performing and suggest that they dance together. And we think that's very effective for getting people to start and moving on to competing non-rookie vet with a different partner.
Our team is very lucky in the sense that we do have a fair number of veterans and a fair number of people who stick around year after year and really can teach other people. Speaking as someone who has been working to coordinate Rookie Vet over the year, it's surprisingly difficult to get a lot of those vets to do Rookie Vet. A lot of them will be like, I just don't have the time, or I just don't have the interest. A lot of the times it's been hard to get some of our rookies really interested in doing Rookie Vet. Maybe we're just asking the wrong people, but it has been like surprisingly a little bit more difficult than anticipated. Especially I think because a lot of our veteran dancers are in fairly committed partnerships, and it's hard to pull them out of practice time, you know, twice a week to commit to Rookie Vet. So
we have the exact same problem with our vet.
I think it's also a little bit easier for rookies to dance with, say, like a high-level syllabus dancer than it is to dance with an open-level dancer whom they might find a little bit intimidating. And also, some of our vets don't know what the syllabus figures are anymore, and so may just lead them in whatever.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I definitely feel that people are just too intimidated to ask our open-level dancers to dance with them, and the open-level dancers are too busy. But at the same time, we don't have a ton of really committed kind of higher-level syllabus dancers. We've got a few, but we're kind of at a weird point where we have more open-level dancers than like committed syllabus-level dancers.
So this is something I noticed at the dance camp we held recently. We have a dearth of like silver and low gold level dancers. So we have like a bunch of newcomer bronze and then a bunch of gold open, and really not much in the middle. I don't know why that is.
I think kind of a big reason for that, at least at UCSB's team, is it's hard to move ahead if you're not taking private lessons. And once you start taking private lessons, you progress fairly quickly, and then you're in the gold open zone. But we don't have a ton of people who have been like taking the group classes over a long period of time and working on their own. And that's kind of what silver gold level dancers are, is they're people who've been working hard on their own and maybe taking a few privates, but not necessarily regular privates. I think that's, at least at UCSB, a big reason that we kind of struggle in that area.
I'll offer one thought as somebody who has done Rookie Vet before as the vet. I know that for me, every time I go to do Rookie Vet, I end up coming up with new choreography every time. That takes probably most of the time that I spend on preparing for Rookie Vet. And maybe there's a better way to do that if there was just a preset choreography, especially one that all of the rookies knew in advance, and then I could just quickly learn and not have to teach them. That would definitely reduce the barrier to participation in Rookie Vet for me.
One idea that we had for UCSB was to have YouTube videos of like a preset bronze choreo for all 10 dances that we would dance Rookie Vet for. And then when someone comes up to us and be like, I want to dance Rookie Vet, we'd be like, great. look at these videos first, and then we'll practice them together. I think that'd save a lot of time, because when I danced Rookie Vet, we met 4 times, and like 3.5 of those times was teaching choreography. And only like the last half of the last lesson was actually like working on technique, which was suboptimal.
Our team, and especially me, we encourage our newcomers and our Rookie Vet dancers to just dance, lead, and follow instead of having an actual piece of choreography, which we encourage more around higher bronze, silver level, because lead and follow is a very important skill that you sometimes don't get as much or any practice with if you just dance choreo all the time. So we encourage a lot of lead and follow, which then takes away the necessity to have to choreograph something every time.
One thing we struggle with at UCSB is that a lot of the follows, like even high level follows, just don't know the choreography and don't know like the name of steps and don't know like, sometimes don't know the footwork of certain things. And so I've been trying to stress to all our dancers that knowing the choreography is like a pretty useful skill at any level. But that's just what I've been doing.
I want to speak to that a little bit. First, from teaching at Berkeley, and something I'm trying to implement here is what we call bronze step test, which is after your first year, the first week you get back, we just have the entire class dance through all of the figures that they learned the previous year. So you don't have to do anything individually. Everyone's dancing as a group. If you feel uncomfortable, you can stand in the back. And so we'll just say, do your waltz, natural turn, close change, reverse turn, whisk, and then everyone does it together. And so as a teacher, it helps because then you get a chance to see what the class looks like right after a break. And as a class, you have some motivation to think, oh, I have to know what a whisk is when I get back from the break.
Do you have a step list for that? I mean, you just go like straight to the gray book at the, whichever it is, licentiate level or whatever, or do you have a customized list that you've developed?
So it's just whatever we taught the previous year.
Oh, I see.
And so if we have also like people who come in and say, I've had experience before, can I join the intermediate class? We'll just say, hey, do the step test with our students so we can take a look at whether this class would be a good fit for you. And you can also get an idea of what the class level is like.
I think we have a lot of things to talk about, but one thing talking about the step test is because Roberta is one of our coaches, she has also been telling us about step tests because
she was my coach.
Yeah. So the nice thing about step test is that it creates this kind of literature among the team that really helps, like when people want to talk to each other and want to help each other out, because something that's like a dynamic that I'm often observing is that some people are pretty good with using the terms like natural and reverse, and other people are better at demonstrating it or describing a feeling. And I think step test would help make it more like wordy, like using the actual words. And I mean, there's a little bit of friction towards that, but I think it's good to try to go towards like a common language. And then
it also helps a lot of people like who are used to feeling the steps and don't really like rely very heavily on muscle memory, which works when you're competing sometimes and definitely when you're following, and can't really think through what, say, the footwork is or the orientation is. If they can sort of put that information in mentally, it really helps with retention of the information. And also as a teacher, it means every time I say I'm teaching a new routine, I don't have to explain what the whisk is again.
Mm-hmm. Going back to Rookie Vet and things that have worked for us is when we do our group classes for Latin and kind of for standard, we have set routines. Our Latin coach, Joanna, will teach the beginner, the bronze people, or the rookies, I guess in this case, a routine. So something that works for our vets is the rookies already have a routine, and they just kind of do, so the followers will teach the leaders that, and the leaders will just lead it, and the veteran followers will just follow it. And generally our veteran followers are very good at following those leads. So that's what's been working for us. We have routines that the rookies already know, and we just kind of go with that. And also something that's really helpful for us is our alumni are all pretty close by, so they stay. And as a result, they're pretty involved when it comes to like rookie vet. Also, another thing is they come by a lot during our practices to like help out and stuff like that. So it makes it really easy for our rookies to be like, hey, you want to do rookie vet? Like, it's just kind of like additional time outside of what's already been invested. So I think that's why we've had a lot of success with rookie vet.
Okay. Well, we are at noon, and I know some people have to sign off. There is one topic I'd like to go back to briefly. This might be something we have to revisit when we meet again in June or possibly early July. Mengsha had mentioned the possibility of having some sort of beginners type competition early in the year. You know, if in particular, if Claremont ends up with a competition date of November 4th, then the topic of having some sort of beginners only opportunity with maybe mid-level amateur judges in October, say, I think does sound like an interesting possibility. The details of how that might come to pass certainly would need to be looked into. Are there any other immediate thoughts about entertaining some sort of activity like that as something that CDA might push?
I mean, just talking to the advanced dancers on my team, they seem interested in helping to run something like that. If our, the boards of the different schools are interested in helping us be judges or deck captain or whatever, I feel like it would be not that difficult an event to run because we don't have to, hire any real judges or anything like that.
And you're talking about well, certainly a one-day event, but an event that people could drive to and drive from the same day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no hotels.
I think it's a great idea.
I'm certainly in favor. Kelly's nodding. All right, sounds like everybody's in favor. Mengsha, it sounds like maybe you're the progenitor of this idea. We should talk in a couple of weeks, a month, and maybe things will have matured a bit by then, and we can look at making this a reality. All right. Anything else? Pressing topics, things we missed, or go backs that people want to raise before we sign off?
This is also something that sort of came up yesterday during the dance camp, the idea of a team discount to encourage participation in events. This is definitely like whoever feels like this is a good idea, can use this. But I was trying to get more turnout from the various schools for our dance camp. And one of the goals for that is obviously to provide access to professional workshops for teams that don't often get access to that kind of thing, but also so that the collegiate dancers can meet and get to know each other. And so having more teams there would be very beneficial. So I was thinking maybe next year we could implement something like, if your group can bring more than X number of couples, we can give the entire group like $5 off per person, so that partly to increase the peer pressure for teams to bring more couples, but maybe that'll also make it more financially feasible for your members to come.
Is that an idea that representatives of teams would be interested in seeing? Would that be a tool you could use to help you increase attendance of people who could really benefit from these events? Is that something that you personally would like to see, an opportunity maybe for a discount for yourself?
I think that would be great. I only have one thing to say about the dance camp. I really wanted a lot of people on our team to go. Unfortunately, it's during our finals. And I'm not trying to say we have to change the date or anything like that, but we'd be really interested anytime that we're available. And the discount thing would be a really great thing to see.
Yeah, if you guys have any feedback about the date of the dance camp, that would be good, because obviously we don't want to clash with any competition weekends. My outlook toward it was sort of like, for me at least, after the competition season is over, I feel like I can sort of finally work on my technique and sort of break down my dancing a little bit more without fearing for it just being completely broken at the next competition. So I sort of wanted it to be at the end of the season. I don't know how well that works for you guys.
Well, I'll mention there's no such thing as a perfect weekend, of course. There's always multiple things going on no matter what date gets picked. From the dance camp yesterday, I felt like that was a camp that even if I had gone by myself, I still would have picked up quite a bit from it. And, you know, a lot of things shut down once schools start breaking up for the summer because people go home, they're away from their regular partner, and, you know, their opportunities to practice and study, they feel like there aren't any. But I wonder if dance camps or things like that might be an activity that could be continued over the summer if they're constructed in a fashion like yesterday was, where, again, people can benefit from it even as individuals. And, you know, people might be away from their schools over the summer, but that doesn't mean that they're not near some school over the summer.
Yeah, so we actually held it in August last year. One of the problems for us is that when, like, we actually end up with a lot of East Coasters at Caltech over the summer who dance at Columbia and MIT and Harvard, but our regular students are often out of town doing research somewhere else and don't get to benefit from this event.
All right. Now, there are a couple of people who have commented, sent some things in Facebook that you're probably waiting on a response from me from. I haven't had time to read them just now, but I'll look at those and get back to you as soon as we're done here. Is there anything else that we want to cover as a group before we sign off? All right. In that case, thanks everybody for your time, and keep an eye out. We'll have elections coming out after we can coordinate with Lorena and Chris, so there'll probably be a couple of weeks. And our next meeting, I think, will be maybe at the end of June or early in July. And so good luck, everybody, all students with their finals, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye. Thank you.